You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box? What on earth's he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. I feel it. You feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Happy holidays, Earth Station Who listeners, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. That's right, folks. We are here, and we are going to be talking, ready for this, folks, the evil of the Daleks, the second Doctor, Jamie, and introducing Victoria. That's right. The lovely Victoria, who hasn't even started screaming her head off that much yet. We have to wait for just an episode or two.
Got a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But it was fun to see the restored episode animated completely. And I've been dying to see this one since I read the Target novelization. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys thought about this one. Because, you know, it's recently been released in DVD and here in the States, and they have a color version, a black and white version, and I think the only episode that actually was existing still was number 2 of this. So I'm really glad they were able to do justice to it. And, you know, it's always a fun Dalek story, and this actually was originally supposed to be the last Dalek story, too. So, you know, it's hard to keep a good villain down, though, as they like to say. So it'll be a lot of fun to talk about tonight. Of course, we have our regulars with us. Let's say hi to Mike and Mary. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Howdy.
How's the holidays treating you guys?
Pretty good.
Very well, very well. This is the final Earth Station Who for 2021.
Yeah, people got their hopes up. This is the final one?
Oh, man.
Wow, I thought you guys were ending with Trial of a Time Lord, not something like Evil of the Daleks.
Well, after this 7 parts, no, just kidding. No, it's our last one. We do squeeze this one in right before the new year starts.
Because we'll be back again with you guys next week to review the Doctor Who, New Year special.
More Daleks.
More Daleks. More Daleks all the time,
More Daleks.
Even though they were supposed to be destroyed in the flux, but who's counting?
They've been destroyed about 1 million times at this point.
As we've seen in this episode that we're about to review.
Exactly.
So it should be a ton of fun. So definitely, folks, we definitely would love to hear from you. Please write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. Tell us what you guys thought about this one. Did you like it? Did you not? What are your thoughts on seeing, the introduction of Victoria? Did you like seeing pretty much a Dr. and Jamie straight story? It's pretty awesome. Them actually most of the time, though, they were not together. It was, the Jamie with, other characters, and the Doctor mostly with Professor Waterfield, sorry. So
yeah, well, in one episode in particular, I think Patrick was on vacation, so he's hardly in that one at all.
Right.
We finally get a Doctor and Jamie episode, and they are separated through most of it.
Throughout the whole thing.
Right. So, there's not really a ton of Doctor Who news worth talking about yet. We did get, rumors about RTD, rumors about, when he's going to be starting his season, but we're not going to talk about that till we get stuff in concrete and firm. It's just not worth it right yet. And, otherwise we're going to have the new, episode next week. So let's just enjoy it. Let's just see what we got going on. There's been a couple fake posters put out for the Easter special, and it's definitely going to be in April. So there, rumor going around is April 17th, but nothing confirmed by BBC unless next week they'll be showing a trailer for it after the New Year's special, which kind of hope they will, but we'll be talking all about that.
They could. They filmed it, so.
Yeah. Everything for Jodie is filmed. It's in the can.
She's done.
She's done being the Doctor already. She's probably working on other projects, or she's putting her feet up and reading Twitter and reading comments on her Doctor
Laughing.
Laughing all the way. So it'll be very interesting to see, and you know what? Let's just have fun with it. So let's dive right into Evil of the Daleks. We are going back to May 20th, 1967, runs all the way through July 1st of that year. I was already around, folks. Mike was just still a glint in Mommy and Daddy's eyes.
Yeah.
So, but Mary
Not
and
even.
I were here.
Yep, I was here.
Yep. So we're here. We're old, and it's interesting because this one was just recovered and fully restored in animation, and loved it. Did you guys watch it in black and white or in color?
I watched it in black and white. And I watched I watched it in black and white, and for the second episode, I watched the live footage. I didn't watch the animated one.
Oh, you and I talked about it off the air yesterday after Station 1, and you said you wanted to see what the characters actually looked like.
Yeah, well, I wanted to see, that was the only live action that we had, so I wanted to see that. And then plus on the bonus material, there's some shots of the live action destruction of Skaros and the Daleks and all of that. So that was really interesting to see. I'm glad that stuff exists. So that was pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. What about you, Mary?
I watched it in color.
Really?
Because I was just interested to see how they did with it. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. Yeah, it didn't really detract from it. I did go and look at the footage they had of the original one and some stills from the original one, just to also see what the characters look like, because frankly, I didn't think they did such a great job on animating the people in this. The backgrounds were actually nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
And the Daleks.
And
the Daleks
yes.
was great animated.
Yeah.
They definitely did. It was interesting to see. I did like, how the story flowed, and, as we like to say, there's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't watched this one or never read the books or anything, we're going to spoil the hell out of it, folks. Skaro the Daleks get destroyed in this one, big time. And it got criticized by a lot of the public because, at the time it was still known as a children's show, and they showed Daleks getting destroyed and coming out of their casings and stuff. It was just gave kids nightmares. But I thought it was really well done, even in the animation.
Yeah, the animation and seeing the live the footage that exists of the battle and all the explosions and everything like that was pretty cool. I was like, wow, this is really amazing. I mean, you could tell that this was supposed to be the last send off. Although on the bonus material it says that when the guy went to direct, he was about to, he's setting up the explosions to set off the explosions for the Emperor Dalek and this big finale, and he gets a call from the producer, who I guess the showrunner at the time was Innes Lloyd, right? And he goes, well, we just talked to Terry, and we don't want to end the Dalek, so he wants there to be more Dalek stories because Terry. He didn't say this, but I'm sure because Terry couldn't sell it to anybody else. Right?
Yeah, he was trying to sell it to Americans, actually.
He was trying to sell it to America. He tried to sell it back to the BBC for a pilot. He tried to he tried but it just wasn't happening. So yeah. And the guy's like, I got this. I'm just about ready to press the button and destroy everything. And I'm like, well, think of some way you could do it so that they're not dead at the end. So he fixed a light in the Emperor so that it's still pulsating even after the explosion goes off and everything. So you can tell that I don't know. I kind of missed it in the animation, but I didn't get the impression that in the animation that I saw that the Daleks were still around at the end. It looked like everything was completely destroyed.
Yeah, I didn't get that from the animation either. I just read that later that supposedly he had done that.
Yeah, so maybe they missed out on a little bit there. They probably could have in the animation. They definitely could have done. I know they try not to take too many liberties, but obviously they're taking some. And to Mary's point, we've it's the same company that's doing these reanimations or whatever, and for the most part, I think they're doing a great job. This one felt a bit rushed to me in terms of. I mean, I know it was massive because. And they don't get a huge budget. So, and this is 7 episodes. So, I mean, that's a lot. But I felt like some of the animation, especially on the Doctor and like on Troughton, on the second Doctor himself, like was just kind of not great.
No, I felt that also.
The drawing wasn't great.
Yeah,
the animation wasn't great, and that kind of detracted for me a little bit. I mean, it was a decent story, but I don't know. I felt like they spent a lot of time on the backgrounds and the Daleks. Those look great. I mean, don't get me wrong, but also those are easier to animate. With computer, it's harder to animate organic things and have them look realistic.
But I mean, the other ones that we've seen by these folks, Faceless Ones and Macro Terror, I think we did last year and all that. I thought those were great.
They were definitely better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if this one, I guess they've been working on it since 2018. And I don't know why this one, like, it looks the way it does. Again, I'm granted, I don't think they have much of a budget. And maybe it's because they had the same budget they did for the others, only they had 7 episodes instead of 4 or 5 or whatever. But I don't know. But that said, I mean, it is a visual representation, and they do give you options. I mean, you can just watch the stills if you want, and just listen to the audio if you want to do that. So this is as good as it's going to get, and the story is pretty good. I mean,
I enjoyed the story.
It's
a little long, but it was.
It's a Dalek story not written by Terry Nation because he was too busy trying to sell the Daleks. So that's a good thing.
That really helped it a lot. You could tell.
And maybe because it was their big epic. I don't know if it was their finale, but their big epic send off for the Daleks. That's why it's such a massive story. But of course, they couldn't spend a lot of money on Skaros. So most of it takes place. Well, the first 2 episodes take place in like the 60s, right? And then
1968
then we got
or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we got 4 episodes or something like that in the mansion in Victoria time, literally. And then we got a couple episodes in Skaro. So I think they had to distribute the funds, and from what I understand, they got to film on location at this mansion for most of the Victorian era shots, so that we miss seeing that. But I mean, on the second episode, it's there, so that's pretty nice. But it's an interesting story. The fact that the Daleks are they've been defeated by the humans enough that they're kind of wanting to know why that what makes the humans be able to defeat them. But the real plan, of course, is to come up with something to turn humans into Daleks, and that's kind of a cool twist. I like the idea of it. I like the sort of way it plays out. I love, the fact that it's a Jamie and Doctor story. Even they're not together, the interplay between them is great. And this is the first time really where we see them really have a difference of opinion and go after each other, and that was pretty interesting.
Oh, it was interesting because Jamie was spying on the Doctor with the plan, and he thought the Doctor had turned evil and was working directly with the Daleks. And of course, the Doctor was, 4 steps ahead of everybody at that point.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he was basically using Jamie. Jamie didn't know what the Doctor was doing.
I know.
He certainly didn't explain it to him.
The fact that the Doctor says, well, I knew you could handle Jamie, that doesn't really make things better.
No.
I don't know if Jamie thought he was evil completely, but I do think that obviously he had a problem with the way the Doctor handled things. And usually I'm used to thinking of Patrick Troughton's second Doctor as a guy who's pretty low key, has everything in hand kind of, or when he doesn't, he's always caring for his companions. This seems to be like one where he's really wrestling with the greater good and kind of like willing to sacrifice his companions almost in some ways. And I don't think we've seen that. I haven't seen that Doctor played by Troughton before. I've seen it in other
Doctors. Yes.
Yeah. But this is the first time I've seen it here. And I don't know, this is the first time Jamie meets the Daleks, right? Yes. I think the first and only time, right?
It is. Because this is the last time we see the Daleks, other than little cameos and stuff like stills and everything like that, until 1972. Right? Which was Day of the Daleks.
Yeah.
So that's quite some time. That's 5 years.
Yeah.
So we can't imagine going 5 years without the
now we're lucky if we go 5 episodes without seeing them.
The Daleks are back again.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I agree with you that, it was the first time we had Jamie and the Doctor alone, because we had, until before that, we had Polly and Ben with them. And we dodged a bullet on this one, folks, because Polly and Ben, Annika Wills, and whoever played Ben, was under contract till episode 2 of this storyline. But they decided to say, see ya, we'll let you go at the end of the Faceless Ones.
Well, yeah, it didn't make sense to can him unless they were just going to kill him. So it didn't make sense to keep him on for this one. So yeah, that makes sense. I think, it's weird because, they wanted, from the Faceless Ones, they wanted Pauline Collins to continue the role of Samantha. And I think when we watched the Faceless Ones, I think we all like Samantha. And I think she was one that we were like, yeah, that would have been cool if she was the next companion. But Pauline turned them down when they offered her the part. And then I think they had a couple of different other people in mind, and they finally went with Deborah Watling as Victoria. When we watch these Doctor stories, it comes up quite frequently if the characters are good enough, like whether or not they'd be good companions or not. I can safely say that in this one, after watching it, now granted, it's animated form, so I have to say that, taking that into account, you can't strictly take really value or judge the acting ability of some of these people but characterizations. But with what we have, I could definitely say while watching this, I did not wish that Victoria was would join up as a companion. That seemed to come out of nowhere. In fact, I would have much rather had Kemmel join the TARDIS crew.
Yes. He was one of the most interesting characters, and they kind of, when he gets killed off, it's so superfluous.
Oh, it's so awful. I was like, it's like 5 minutes to go, and I'm like, Kemmel's still there. I'm like, but I know he's not going to be a companion. I'm like, and then the guy comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, this is how he's going to
trips him.
Exactly. And I'm like, oh. That sucked. I mean, can you imagine what a dynamic it would have been having the Doctor, Jamie, and Kemmel as a crew? That would have been fascinating. That would have been
cool.
It would have made the next story, which is, Tomb of the Cybermen, a lot more interesting. I'll say that much.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Granted, Jamie's your strong guy, kind of. You don't need to have 2 of them. But what an interesting dynamic. How different that would have been. You don't need a cute little girl all the time. But at that point, you wouldn't be able to tell the BBC that, because that's what they wanted.
Yeah, it's still what they want. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. So, but that was good, and I was really surprised seeing the stills and everything. I was surprised to see that Kemmel, like animation wise, really looked. I think they did him justice.
He actually was one of the best drawn of the characters.
Yeah.
I agree. It was interesting too, because his character, you thought he was just going to be the dumb, muscly bad guy and get killed off by the Daleks or something real quick. And, Jamie like saved his life, and he was like, hey, you're not so bad, and everything. And that's what made it really interesting. And he stuck through the rest of the story. He was in it for 5-6 episodes, and he was awesome. I liked his character a lot, and he was loyal to Jamie, but he was also very loyal to Victoria.
Such great dialogue.
Oh, the best.
Amazing voice actor.
His face said so much too.
His voice will be like ringing in my ears for years to come. No, he was. But no, you're right, Mike. I thought he was great, and I was worried first when he's introduced. The guy brings him out, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be awkward.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking, oh no, we are going to get some huge racist scene.
British colonialism at its worst right here. And there's a little bit of that, sure, but it's not really. But the way, like, I love the fact that even in this day and age, you got a character like Jamie who just, despite where he grew up, he's really like colorblind when it comes to all of that stuff. And I think this is a really, really strong Jamie story. Probably one of the strongest Jamie stories, because when he gets, this is the first time he meets the Daleks, which is the worst enemy of the Doctor. Period. Like, you can hem and haw about anybody else, but I think historically the Daleks are the worst. They bring out the worst in the Doctor. Every time the Doctor sees him, even in this one, when Patrick Troughton sees the Dalek for the first time, he doesn't even see him. He just hears him, and he's like, oh, yeah, I understand what's going on now. But Jamie doesn't even think twice, just attacks the thing and destroys one right away. This is like an ace baseball bat moment. Like, he just takes him out, and I'm like, you go, Jamie.
Oh, and I loved it, when they wrapped the rope around the one and threw it off the
throw
balcony.
it down.
That was awesome.
Great.
it was just awesome, and Jamie was like, Doctor, you've been saying Dalek this, that since I've joined with you. I don't think what's so bad about these guys, And it was just awesome. It was neat though that the story, started still right after Faceless Ones, when the TARDIS was stolen in the back of that truck, and seeing the Doctor and Jamie chasing after the truck. I would love to have seen the live version of that.
Yeah.
I so would have loved to have seen that. It was just awesome. And then I thought it was great. It felt almost like a spy plot at first. They had the pictures of the Doctor and Jamie. Oh, let's lure them to this, antique shop, and and the whole thing, meeting at the coffee bar and everything in 1967, and it was very well done. And I like, these people didn't even question, oh, there's time travel involved, like Professor Whitefield and everything. It was just really interesting with that.
They get transported to 1866, and the Doctor wakes up first, right? And the first person he meets is the maid or whatever, and she says something like, "Oh, I'll tell the Master you're awake," and he's like, "The Master?" And I'm like, whoa.
Wait a minute.
I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? And
you're 4 seasons too early there, mister.
I know, right? It's like, well, even, if they only knew, right?
No, it was awesome. And I felt so bad for Jamie. The Doctor got up, he went on his way. Poor Jamie got up, met the maid, drank whatever that tonic was to make him feel better. And as soon as he's awake, boom, back.
He gets it almost immediately.
Exactly. It's like, oh, that poor guy. Yeah. And it's just like, and it was it was just so. It was I liked the story. It was 7 episodes, and it could have been a little bit shorter, but I liked the story itself, and it was very, very interesting that, they had the one, character who was under hypnotism by the Daleks, and kept on hearing the static in his head and everything. I could have sworn he was going to be a robot, especially when the doctor came after him with a real screwdriver, not the sonic screwdriver.
Yes.
And
the one guy pulled out his sword and he pulled out a screwdriver, and I'm like, oh, again, we're too early.
Yes, it's like, oh, close. You're only a season off from that one.
It's only a sonic away.
Exactly. But he pulled out the screwdriver, and it's like, magnet. There's something that's, in here that I thought he was going to be a robot or something, or a cyborg, instead of just a little box on him or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on with that guy. And I don't think they just kind of wrote him off. Like, the doctor's like, you two women, like, take him far away. And then they left. And it was like, okay, well, they're never going to, like, that's a plot point that's just gone.
Yeah,
like,
I guess the implication was if you get him far enough away, then he's not under the influence anymore. But yeah, that wasn't handled very well.
I think later on they kind of implied that the Daleks were using him, like they tried to do the Dalek Factor with him first and it didn't work or something.
Oh wow, I didn't even get that.
I didn't either. I thought he was I just thought he was under hypnosis with that box or something. And that was him fighting it.
That could be. I just think that, like I said, when the doctor's talking to the Emperor Dalek, I think he says something about that or whatever. It's in there somewhere, I think. But I could have been mistaken. It could be something else, or maybe I just,
Okay.
I will admit
they did
that,
say something about experimenting on him, so.
I will admit, I think so. I watched the first 4 episodes one night, then I took a break, and then the next night I watched the last 3, and during the 6th one, I think I fell asleep, and then I had to rewatch. Okay. So I had to start it over. So I watched a lot of it twice, but all the stuff from Scarrow I hadn't seen so in that one. So I watched all that anew. So I was trying to get caught up at the same time as I was watching it. So it was weird, but I was surprised that they went to Scarrow, actually. When they all said, like, oh, we're going to Scarrow now. I'm like, really? Like this is where this is going? I was like, this is okay. This is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I liked it when they went to Scarrow. I thought that was kind of cool, especially for back then.
Well, exactly. And it's interesting, the very 60s looking Scarrow, too, with all the, like, metal scaffolding and everything. It was just like, there was, like, no solid walls. Everything was just all hollowed out. It's like, well, Daleks probably don't need walls,
Well, it's different from the Scarrow that we'd seen before, and one of the reasons why was because the budget, and one of the things they do talk to the set designer on the bonus material too, and he was like, when he was setting up the Dalek camp or whatever at Scarrow, the base where the Emperor was and everything, he's like, I need to make it cheap because we're spending all the money on the Emperor Dalek. I need to make the set cheap, so I'm just going to put these rods up here and then have black curtains behind it. And that's one of those things that works really well in black and white. In color, well, I don't know what it was like when you got with the animation wise, but certainly in black and white and when in live action, in color, like in black and white, that works very well. So that's why that was like that. Like anything else, when you wonder why they did things in Doctor Who, especially in Classic Who, most 9 times out of 10 because of the budget.
Yeah. They did the best with what they had. It didn't look bad, really.
No, I didn't think it looked bad at all. And I was really impressed by the battle sequences between the Daleks and the whole chaos and the destruction and everything like that. I mean, that was, for the time, that was pretty epic.
Oh, very much so. It just, just picturing it in my mind when I first read the book, it was awesome. But then seeing it, with the Daleks exploding and literally the Daleks inside of it squirting out in certain points. It was just like, oh, that must be awesome on screen. And I think the animation caught it, but I would have loved to have seen the actual video of it. So
yeah, I kept wondering how much did they, if they took any license with the animation, because I wondered if some of these effects were something they could have done, with so little money back then.
The one question, they kept it, from what I could tell, they kept it pretty honest. But one of the things that I was really surprised by in the animation, when the Daleks get destroyed, you see the actual beings inside and what's left of them or whatever. And I was like, wow, was that in the original? And sure enough, some of the clips that exist show they're actually like, these pulsating membranes or whatever coming out of there. And it's like, oh, that's pretty disgusting. So yeah, Mike, I could see where, back then kids were watching and like, that's pretty gross.
Yeah. It's pretty horrific, and I'm sure parents were not thrilled about that.
Yeah, the kids probably just blew it off. The parents were probably more upset about it than the kids were.
Probably the kids were like, oh, awesome. And the parents were like,
little Jimmy, oh my God.
Exactly.
Shut your eyes.
And that's how Stephen Moffat first saw Dr. Who. So yeah, it's pretty darn awesome that, they did all that. Some of the side characters I didn't care for. I didn't really care about Maxtable all that much.
Yeah, I kept hoping he would go away.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's there through the whole thing.
I fully expected him, even when they were the Daleks were abandoning the house and going off to Skaro, and he was futzing with that machine, which ended up being the bomb. I thought the Dalek was like, "You must not touch it," just shoot him right there. But no,
right.
I think that's one character, not completely, but I think that's one character that definitely is not serviced well in the animation. In the second episode, the guy who's playing him, Marius Goring, is quite the accomplished English actor. And the bonus material, they say they were lucky. They didn't think he was going to say yes to it. They thought he was going to be too big for it or whatever. And he said, I think it'll be fun. And granted, he does an over-the-top campy job, but I think that could be said by so many other, especially Doctor Who villains. He doesn't get a lot to work with. But certainly I do think like his performance was probably enhanced if you saw it live action better than the stiffness of the animation style that was done with him. I don't that wasn't going to lend itself to very like over the top campiness.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially because all he wanted was from the Daleks is to learn how to turn lead into gold.
Sure.
The typical alchemist.
It was written very poorly.
Yeah.
His reason for being and for doing that was really badly written. But I think there was potential there, but it doesn't come through, I think, in the animation.
Well, I think they were trying to just show how petty he really was, but it just came across as a caricature. So it made him too cartoonish. Ha ha ha.
Ha 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 ha. And you you assume he was destroyed when the Dalek Capital Command Center, whatever it was, destroyed.
He goes running back in, and
yeah, which would serve him right. But I would have wanted to see him die. Ha! That's just like the bloodthirsty barbarian.
Yeah, especially since he takes out Kemmel. We need to get like some retribution for that.
He like 5 minutes left. He kills Kemmel, and then he says, he's about to kill Jamie.
I forgot my keys.
Exactly. He's about to kill Jamie and, Victoria, and all of a sudden, all Daleks return. He was like, gotta go. See ya.
Did I leave the iron on? I better go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, really? And then, of course, the doctor pops up. Hey,
But this is the first time. So this is where the Daleks come up with the idea to use humans. And we do see that even up to New Who. We do see the Daleks using the Dalek Factor, if you will, to create or to actually make humans, not like clones of humans, but actual humans into Dalek drones.
Oh yeah, well that especially in the new series, they tried doing that hybrid human Dalek in the Daleks in Manhattan, and then we also had the Daleks, basically making spies with nanotech, and the stalks coming out of the people's foreheads.
Yeah, and was it Asylum of the
Yeah.
Daleks? I think.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's what I
Exactly.
was thinking in particular. Like I was like, that's and I think it stems from this story because I don't recall any of the other Dalek stories using that sort of aspect of what the Daleks can do.
I know, like during the first Doctor's era, especially like during Dalek Master Plan, the Daleks had humans working with them.
But not like this. They didn't
No,
control them like they weren't like drones.
No, not at all.
They just made deals with them like they did with Maxtable.
Exactly. So it was just interesting to see. The Daleks were great, and it was not hidden anywhere in this that this wasn't a Dalek story, even in the evil of the Daleks. That kind of gave it away there.
No surprise. Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't appear until the second episode, right? So
Right. So, but yeah, it was. I liked it. I thought I was happy to see this, and I'm glad to have this as part of my collection now. And and this leads, these three stories together, because with the Faceless Ones, then with this one, and then Tomb of the Cybermen right after this, and then they go into a huge classic era at that time, with some great stories. And I think right after that is the Abominable Snowman, which we're going to be getting very soon also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So it's pretty awesome.
The only thing about all of those or all of these, whatever, is that I mean, I don't mean to be a hater, but I'm not a big Victoria fan. I don't. Really
She doesn't do a lot.
She and in this, like I said, she doesn't do enough in this to make me think, oh, she's gonna make a great companion. The only thing I was thinking though, and you correct me if I'm wrong because you guys have a little bit more familiarity with this than I do, but it seems like out of all the companions, even though there's, no hanky panky in the TARDIS or whatever, it seems like Victoria is the one that sort of, out of all the female companions, that Jamie kind of looks to as a potential love interest more than anybody else.
I could see that.
And you kind of see the beginnings of it here. I mean, he's literally the knight in shining armor that comes to her rescue. I mean, that's the whole test that he has to do.
Yeah,
right?
well, he's definitely got a protective vibe around her.
I don't know if it's a love interest or he's more like a big brother trying to protect her, like the chivalry thing.
I always felt like Zoe and Jamie are brother and sister. Like they didn't feel like they were romantic at all. But I don't get the brotherly feeling towards, with
Victoria.
With Victoria, it feels like it's something else there. But I've only seen a few of their stories, so I don't really. Obviously, there's a lot that we haven't done on the show, and that don't exist. So,
well, exactly, and hopefully we'll get even more of them as it comes along. We were lucky enough to see Enemy of the World, or we've been able to see some of the other ones with her in it. I'd like to see, I'm still waiting for us to see Wheel in Space so we could see the first Zoe episode.
Yes. So let me get this straight. So as far as Jamie's timeline goes, when Jamie joins, are Ben and Polly already there?
Yeah. Ben and Polly start with the first Doctor.
Okay, so we've got Ben and Polly. So Jamie is with Ben and Polly first, then he's with Victoria, and then Zoe after that, right? So he only has to share the TARDIS with those people. So he doesn't have a huge range of other people to compare to. So maybe
well, but he was the longest running companion with Patrick,
right? And it does seem like Samantha. The character Samantha in the Faceless Ones, there is some sparks between Jamie and her for sure.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, I can see that more than Victoria, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I do wonder, because she turned it down, I do wonder if the writers were thinking that they did want to give him a love interest going forward, and then that was replaced with Victoria.
But instead, you got Victoria.
Yeah, and she's, like I said, she's not great in this. There's nothing in this that make me go like, ooh, I want her aboard. And to be honest with you, in all the stories that I've seen her in, she doesn't help her cause at all. So
yeah, well, they just don't give her anything to do.
Yeah,
I can't except scream.
I don't want to be too hard on Deborah because she's got what she's got to work with and everything. But I consider Victoria, if not the weakest, one of the weakest companions of the Doctor. Period.
Okay. That's fair.
I mean, I don't dislike Victoria, but she's just kind of she just doesn't do much.
I still put her up above Mel, so it's okay.
Yes, I think
well, that's a low bar.
Yeah, well, we're talking about low bars here.
I think Perry's below her, and
Oh, Perry drives me insane. She's so annoying.
I can't disagree with those assessments. I would probably put Victoria above the two of them as well.
All right, what about Tegan and Nyssa?
No, I'd put Tegan and Nyssa above
Actually,
Victoria.
let's hold these thoughts. This could be a great episode, Battle of the Doctor Who Companions. We could do like a thing. Who ranks higher? I think we're coming up with a new episode for Dragon Con this year.
I will say though, I am glad that the BBC is allowing some funds for this to happen. I'm glad that we're getting these stories, and I hope that they continue. I know we're set to get Abominable Snowman, and hopefully they're just going to keep turning these out until we have a solid collection of Doctor Who stories. I hope the animation is better.
I know we were supposed to get Galaxy 4 here in the States, but I got an email from Amazon just this last week saying it's delayed. Definitely. So they'll notify me when it's due in, because I always pre-order these discs when they come out and everything. And all our friends in the UK who are listening are probably going, ha ha ha, we got ours already, Mike.
Yeah, I'm still not happy about that. I'm not happy that they don't come out in Blu-ray, although it looks like the Abominable Snowman is supposed to come out in Blu-ray in the States. At least you can pre-order it on Amazon that way.
Fingers
but for now,
crossed.
Right. But also, just my DVD, the packaging, the cover art on this is just lame. It doesn't make me really want to go out and I don't think it properly depicts how good of a story this is and how important of a story it is in Doctor Who, in the franchise. Mm-hmm. This is one of the better Dalek stories. And the way they treat it, it looks like it's just some sort of, I don't know, made for TV movie thing. It's just
that is a terrible cover.
It is a
really
horrible
bad
cover. I will say that with the animated ones, actually, let me rephrase that, because the faceless ones was pretty cool looking.
And the Macroterra, I thought the cover was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, in Britain you can get Steelbox covers, so it's that's pretty nice. But, if they're not going to give us that, then come on, man.
No. Okay.
I mean, it's a good enough story that even though the animation is not as good as some previous ones, I still enjoy it. I mean, it didn't detract from it enough to wreck the story. But
by no means, no.
Yeah, I will say it did appear that, I don't know if they had time constraints or budget constraints or what it was, but it does seem to be inferior to the two previous releases.
Yeah. Not nearly as bad as, some of the other animation.
Oh, no. There's definitely worse animation.
That some of the other companies did. But, I'm pretty pleased. I think we've talked very highly about this company that's been doing them the last few times. And I think that's why we're kind of disappointed in this one, because we're...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some story behind it, why that happened.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure about that. All right, kids, any final thoughts before we go ahead and rate this one?
Music was good too. I like the music.
Oh yeah, the music was good.
No, very much so. All right, 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Mary, ladies first tonight.
I think I'm going to give it a 4. I might have gone as high as 4.5, but then there's some problems with the animation. Victoria doesn't do anything, and really, it's as usual. There's lots of filler. There's lots of running around, to stretch it out to 7 episodes. But the core of the story is good. Troughton is good. Jamie is great. So and it's definitely enjoyable, and I would recommend watching it definitely. So yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Okay, Mr. Mike.
I'm going to give it a 4 as well. I think it's an important episode. Dalek-wise, I think it's a great one. It's an interesting backstory, the fact that it was supposed to be the last one or whatever. The final part of it with the battle and the explosions and everything, I definitely encourage people to check out the bonus material so they can see what that looked like live action. It's a great story for Jamie fans. If you are Jamie McKinnon fan, McCrimmon, right?
McCrimmon.
Yeah, man. This is a good one, and it's an interesting side of Troughton's Doctor that we don't usually get to see. So I really appreciate all those things. Yes, it's 7 episodes, but to be honest with you, I think if you break it up, it's quite nice and quite nicely digestible.
Awesome. Damn it! I'm going to agree with you guys once again. Because I can't give it a 4.5, but I really liked this one. I really, really did. And like you guys have said, some problems with the animation. Some of the characters looked really stiff. And it almost looked like, oh, well, we have a template already made for Patrick. Let's just use it in each scene. Let's not give him facial range or items like that.
Yeah, I saw them reusing facial expressions. Mm-hmm. Which makes me think that they had budgetary constraints.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I am so sure they did. But, Victoria, I've always wanted to see how she joined, because I've, read, in even the Doctor Who Compendium and Doctor Who Companions and stuff. Oh, Victoria joined the crew of the TARDIS after her father was killed by the Daleks. How did her father die? I want to know the story. So I read the Target novelization, and I then got it. But to see it up on the screen finally is awesome. It is awesome. What did you guys think at home? We definitely would love to hear from you guys. Please write us feedback@ourstationwho.com. All right, folks, we hope you had a very wonderful holiday. Thank you guys for everything you guys did for us in 2021. We so appreciate you guys. Definitely, we got great things coming in 2022. We might even be talking to a doctor in 2022. Who are we talking about?
Well, I've got an appointment in January. So.
Well, see, Mike's starting the year off with a bang. Hopefully, he'll be using his sonic screwdriver in ways we don't want to mention. So, but please, join us for the next year. We got a lot of things going on. We'll be here for all the specials. We'll be here with any Doctor Who news. We've got a couple of really cool topics we're going to be doing Facebook Lives with. The Facebook Live we did last time was really successful. We had a really good turnout with people, and we got a lot of great feedback from that. So, folks, thank you, as always, for helping us out and just enjoying yourselves and everything. Any suggestions for the podcast, anyone you'd like to see us join us, or if you want to join us, please, feedback@ourstationwho.com. Write us. We definitely would love to talk to you guys. With that being said, we are going to be back in just 1 week. That's right. It's not the usual 2 weeks. We are going to be back in 1 week, and we are looking at Eve of the Daleks. Oh, God. I didn't even think that we were putting Dalek episodes back to back.
Yeah, from Evil of the Daleks to Eve of
the Daleks. Oh, well. So it's going to be a ton of fun talking more Daleks. And, at least we have Judy. Not Judy. We'll have Jodie, and it'll be a ton of fun with that. So please, until then, love everybody. Hope you guys have a fantastic New Year's. And you know what? Here's to a great 2022 for all of us. peace, and we are done. Thank you, guys. We'll see ya. Ciao.
Woo!
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talent from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
Do you like podcasts?
Then you're gonna hate Thunder Talk.
Tasteless subject matter.
Mature humor. Contempt for our co-hosts.
Unapologetic social views.
Edgy music.
And total irreverence for the nerd junk we love.
Are all reasons why no one
should listen to Thunder Talk.
Find us on the ESO Network.
And all podcasting platforms. Or don't.
Whatever.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.